So in this video, we're going to be going over that first major exam that we took over chapters 1 through 7. And moving forward, these are the kind of things that you'll have to be doing for the major exams that are going to be on the horizon. Remember that everything is always cumulative. Our first major exam was chapters 1 through 7. The second major exam was through chapter 8, but it doesn't start at chapter 12, but it doesn't start at chapter 8. You always start from chapter 1. That's why it is absolutely imperative to learn the vocab words, because if you continue into Latin 2, one of the very first things I'm going to do is when we are no longer online and only in person next year is give a major exam. Maybe several of them over vocab alone. Vocab is everything, and learn it. So our next chapter exam is going to be 1 through probably like 18 or 19. So you got to know it from the beginning. So I'm going to gloss over it really briefly. The very first section is obviously vocabulary. The two numbers is that you get it in context. The first number is the chapter, the second number is the line number. Second section on the exam, let me make it a little bit bigger so that we can see it more clearly. It's part of speech. How are you going to know whether it's a noun, an adjective, or a verb? You've got to know what it means. Now sometimes the form will help you. For example, redire, that's one of those infinitive forms, so you know it's a verb. Adveni un, it has the nt ending, so it's a verb. But here, look at the rivum and calidum. One of those is a noun, one of those is an adjective. The only way by which you'll know is by knowing what the word means. Because these endings over here, they are both endings of nouns and of adjectives. So, you just have to know. That's a verb, they arrive. That's a noun, in the summer. That's a verb, to go back. That's an adjective, my. That's a noun, messenger. That's an adjective, cowardly or lazy. And so forth and so on. The next section, what you had to do, is that you had to fill out this chart with the endings. Well, it's easy. It's only that you had to memorize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 endings is all you had to memorize. We didn't even have the genitive on this. And so you take wela, it's wela, welam, we lie, we las. And then for lupus and weir, it would be lupus, lupum, lupi, lupos. Same thing with weir, and then weirum, weiri, weros. And then fragler and wokes. The stem for wokes is VOC, so let's just do that one. It'd be wokes, wokem, wokays, wokays. The voice does something, nominative. The subject verbs the voice. The voices do something, nominative. The subject verbs the voices. And you can see the difference there. Now the next section gives students lots of problems. And it is noun-adjective agreement. For an adjective to modify a noun, it's got to have three things in common. It's got to have the same case, the same number, and the same gender. Now look over here. For a noun, there are only going to be 4 forms at this point in the year in which we only know nominative and accusative. Puella, puellai, puellai, or puellam, puellai, puellas. That's it. Because a girl is a noun, and a noun has one gender. An adjective, on the other hand, like magnus, magna, is going to have 8 forms. Why? Because an adjective has to have the ability to be masculine, and it has to have the ability to be feminine. And just like a noun, it will appear in the cases that we know at this point, nominative and accusative. Nominative and accusative. And we know that for an adjective like magnus, magna, it's what we call a first and second declension adjective. So whereas a noun will have 4 forms, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. An adjective is going to have 8 because a noun can only have one gender, where an adjective can be expressed in more than one gender. Has to be, because can you have masculine things that are big? Yes. Can you have feminine things that are big? Yes. And so it would be magnum, magni, magnos, magnam, magni, magnas. So let's look at my sentences. Number 1, wokays. When I look at wokays, I know that it's feminine. That's already got me there. But wokays is either nominative subject or accusative direct object. You don't know. You have to look at the context. Well, patres is in my sentence, but it doesn't help us either, because it's in the same exact boat as voces. For the third declension in the plural, or I should say, nominative or accusative, it's the exact same form. So it's either that the voices annoy the fathers, or the fathers annoy the voices. Well, obviously, fathers cannot annoy voices, but voices can certainly annoy fathers. So if voices are the ones who are doing the annoying, I know they're nominative. I know that it is plural. How do I know it's plural? Because of the form. Everything below the line. Plural. Above the line, singular. The form tells me it's plural, and I know it's feminine. So I got to go find nominative, plural, feminine. And thus, to modify voces, it would be magni. How did I get that? Singular, plural, nominative, plural, feminine, magni. Patres. Patres here is the exact same situation. You don't know whether it's the nominative fathers do something or whether it's the accusative. But look at servi. Servi can only be nominative. So servi has to be the ones who are doing the action. So the slaves catch sight of the fathers. We know that this is then the accusative because it is not the subject. Slaves are our subject. We know that it is plural because of the form. Long es equals plural. And then they're dads. So what's the gender going to be? Masculine. So what is the form of magnos? That would modify it. Right there. How did I get that? Accusative plural, masculine. Do you see there? You know your endings, you are fine. Matrem, I don't have to look at anything else. I know that it is accusative. Look at only my endings on the board in brown. Matrem is the only pink spot that em appears. Accusative, singular, because it's above the line. And it's a mom, so I know it's feminine. So what is the form of magnus magna? Magnum. Where did I get that? Accusative, singular, feminine. Do you see it, the am? Now, do they have the same ending? Nope. Do they have the same ending? Nope. They don't have to, but they do have to have the same case. Accusative, accusative. Number, singular, singular. And gender, feminine, feminine. Matrem, that's your first word to put in. Matrem, M-A-T-R-E-M. Senatores. Same situation, you don't know whether it's nominative, the senators do something, or accusative, the subject verbs, the senators. Well, look at the rest of your sentence, the context, princeps. The only thing princeps can be is nominative. So it is the emperor that is doing the action, so therefore they must be the accusative direct object. So, it is accusative, it is plural. How do I know it's plural? Because the es, long es is plural. And then masculine. So what is the form going to be? Magnos. Where did I get that? Accusative, plural, masculine. Fregores. Same situation. Long es. Senatores is not helping me. Because that is the same, could it be nominative, they do stuff, or accusative, subject, verbs, them. So it's the senators scare the crashes, or the crashes scare the senators. Do you see why vocabulary is so important to know? Otherwise you'd be lost. So the fregores is my nominative. They're the ones doing the scaring. They are plural, I know, and I tell you they are masculine. You know for a first declension word it's feminine. You know for a second declension word it's masculine. Third declension you will not necessarily know. You will in situations in which it is modified by an adjective because they will have the same case number and gender. Gender. So here, nominative plural, masculine. Nominative plural, masculine. Magni. The moms hear the voices, or the voices hear the moms. Obviously, voices can't hear anything, so this is going to be the accusative. Accusative, plural. And voces, I've already told you up there, is feminine. So it would be magnos. Accusative, plural, feminine. You see, magnos. And then finally the last one, mater. Mater, I don't even have to look at the rest of the sentence, the context. Instead, I just know that that's my nominative subject. Right there. So it's nominative, singular, and it's a mom, so it's feminine. Nominative, singular, feminine. There it is. Magna. Magna. Let's move on to the next section. And I've already told you your first word. Next section is what you have to do. is to translate verb forms. Should be the easiest thing in the world if you know your endings. You got to, your subject endings. I, you, he, we, y'all, they. OST, must, tis, nt. Now all bets are off concerning the verb essay. It is irregular. Heck, you can see in the infinitive form, essay, to be, doesn't have an are, ere, or ire. You just got to memorize it. The way you memorize it is knowing the form sum I am. S you are. Est he is. Sumus we are. Estus y'all are. Sunt they are. Those you got to memorize. All the others you just need to know. I, you, he, we, y'all, they. You lead because of the S. He is. Y'all lead because of the tis right there. We are. Do you see the sumus? Again, I am, you are, he is. We are, y'all are, they are. I lead. You are. They lead. Y'all are. He leads. I am. We lead. They are. It is as simple as that. But it's something that you have to take time and memorize. You don't know your endings, you are absolutely doomed. OST, must, tis, int, and the irregular of the verb to be. Sum, est, sumus, estis, sunt. Now, next section. Uh-oh. I've got to pull up something else. Go ahead and stop it. Okay, so in this section, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to choose, due to context, the right word to complete the sentence. Now remember, there are two kinds of verbs that we have learned about. You have some verbs that we call transitive verbs. These are verbs that will have or can have a direct object. Mr. Adams loves the copier. Mr. Adams hits the table. Mr. Adams annoys the students. Those are transitive. Then you have those that are known as intransitive. Intransitive verbs are those verbs that will not have a direct object. Mr. Adams stands. You can't say Mr. Adams stands the table. Mr. Adams sits. He can't sit the table. Mr. Adams walks. These are intransitive actions. They do not have a direct object. So let's take a look at the first one. In the fields, he runs, or she runs, or it runs. This does not have a direct object. You can't run the table, run the chair, run the copier. So what we need is a subject. So let's get rid of the accusatives. Not that one, not that one. So it's either going to be puella romana or puellae romanae. Which was the correct answer? Well, we need singular because of T, right? He, she, or it is singular. All of these up here, singular. I, you, he. One person versus plural. We, y'all, they. More than one. And so, your subject is the puella romana. Number two. Pueriano has to be subject. Why? Because of the form. The boys always annoy. Blank. Well, if we already have it as a subject, what we need in here is a direct object. Accusative. Because it says the boys always annoy something. Well, they annoy the accusative direct object, davus. Davum. In the fields, that's accusative. It's got to be long OS. So what we need is the subject who are doing the watching. Who watches the slaves? Well, here it's going to be the boys. Plural NT. So we can go ahead and get rid of the accusatives because we know we need a subject here. We already got an accusative in there. NT is not puer. That's a singular boy. This would be the boys. Something runs to the country house. Something singular. Again, that's an intransitive verb. It will not have a direct object. So we need to find a singular he. That is not a he. That is a they. That is accusative, and so it's going to be puer. And something scares the girls. How do I know girls are direct object? Because of the form. It's accusative. I know that something has to be a singular he, she, or it. That's accusative. And so your answer here is Magnus Clamor, the nominative singular form. Number 5. Cornelia does not like. Well, here, Cornelia does not like. We need a direct object. We already have a subject. So when we're looking for a direct object, we're looking for accusative. There are two possible answers. That could be what she does not like, and that could be what she does not like. It's the accusative direct object. Number 6, sextus. Sextus is nominative. How do I know? Because of the form. And so sextus sees. We already have a subject. We need to know what he sees. We need a direct object. Accusative. So this is nominative. How do I know? Because I know my forms. That is nominative because I know my forms. This is accusative. That's the answer. Cornelia and Flavia, all linking verbs are equal signs. So since on this side we've got plural, feminine, and I know it's plural because it's 2 of them, right? And nominative. I need plural, nominative, feminine. That's accusative. That's singular. That's singular. That's singular. That's plural. That's nominative, but it's masculine. That's what I need. Strenuai. Because all linking verbs are equal sign. That's your second word that you're going to be putting in for your easy quiz grade. In the tree, they spot sextus. Sextus is a direct object, so what we need is who the they are. We need a subject in there. And we're looking for a they, nominative plural, nominative singular, nominative plural, accusative singular, accusative plural, nominative singular. That is your correct answer. How was I able to do that so quickly? I know my forms, I know my endings. If you don't, you're doomed. Number 9, the boys do not fear. To climb, the boys are not afraid to climb. To climb what? We already have a subject. We need a direct object to tell me what are they not afraid to climb. We need accusative. Now that one could be nominative or accusative. That one could be nominative or accusative. But look at the word that's modifying it. For an adjective to modify a noun, it has to have the same case, number, gender. Magni is nominative, meaning that is nominative. Magnos is accusative, meaning that is accusative. And that's the answer we need there. This is nominative, obviously. No longer do they seek the girls. We already have a direct object, so what we need is a nominative subject, who the they are. So we don't need a direct object, we don't need accusative, we don't need accusative. That's nominative plural, that's nominative singular, nt, plural they, the wolves, and not the big wolf. Then finally, the mothers hear big shouts in the country house. That is nominative or accusative, that is nominative or accusative. We need a direct object. Moms are the ones who are doing the hearing. Get rid of that because we already got a nominative. So, how do I know which one's the accusative clamores? How do I know which one is the nominative clamores? You look at the word that's modifying it. Do you see how magnos has to be accusative? That means this one's accusative. Do you see how magni has to be nominative? That one is nominative. And since we need an accusative direct object, that is what goes into the blank. Now, in this next section, what you had to do is every word that's underlined, you had to identify it as whether it's functioning as a subject, the doer of the action, direct object, the receiver of the action, transitive verb, those verbs that can take a direct object, intransitive verbs, those that cannot. Linking verbs, sum, est, sumus est sunt, that link the subject to the complement, or is it an infinitive? So let's go through it really quickly. Sedet, a Roman man sits. Well, that right there is a intransitive verb. He cannot sit the table. He cannot sit the copier. By the name Gaius Cornelius, who is the father. Who is the complement. It is the complement predicate nominative. He sits alone because he wants to write many letters. Look at the accusative. That has got to be a direct object. Dio. Gaium Cornelium do I seek. I seek Gaius Cornelius. Again, that is accusative. Got to be a direct object. It's what he seeks. Gaius Cornelius, the subject, est equal sign, my dad. That's a complement, CPA. Dad, says Marcus, a messenger is. That's your linking verb, LV. The Nuntius, the messenger, hands over trotted the letter. The messenger is doing it. That's our subject. And then here, we saw this earlier in the chapter, the emperor calls back the senators. That long ES could be a nominative, but the senators are not the subject. The subject is the emperor. Therefore, they are the direct object. And then finally, hooray! Sextus shouts, who wants to go to Rome. To go is the infinitive. It is your complementary infinitive, CI. That is your third item, ire. Ire is your third item that you're going to be putting in. And very last section, that you need to know, not counting the culture section, is that you had to translate these sentences. The only way in which you can translate sentences are A, know the vocabulary, B, know the forms. You've got to know the forms whether something's functioning as a subject or a direct object. You've got to know what the subject of the verb is. The slave seeks the branches in the forest and immediately drives off the wolf while Sextus climbs in the tree terrified. You don't know the vocabulary, you're doomed. You've got to learn the vocabulary, especially if you continue into Latin. The girls often hear voices in the forest, but they do not see the boys. People put down, but the boys do not see. The boys aren't doing a darn thing. They're accusative. The boys lead the messenger in plus accusative into the country house, and they call the father. Soon they spot their father, the one scribentim, the one writing. It's a participle, an adjective that comes from a verb. It has the nt as its stem and a third declension ending, telling me that it's modifying trim, same case, number, gender. Soon they see their father writing the letters. The girl does not want to go back to the city because there the days always are hot. In the country house, the girl is able to wander near the cold stream. And then finally, the fathers hear loud voices in the garden. Fathers and voices, both could be either, but when you listen to it, fathers hear voices, voices do not hear fathers. That doesn't make sense. Boys is accusative, so let's go to our verb. They do not like the boys because they are annoying. Your fourth and final item is scribentim. Scribentim. It's a lesson learned here. Learn your vocab. If you don't, you're doomed. Learn your forms. If you don't, you're absolutely doomed. So, good luck.